Good afternoon and final presentation, I think, of the day. Nice to see you all. Thanks for coming back. So, for those who didn't see me earlier, my name is Paul North. I'm the Managing Director of a company called Illuminis Insight Software. We're also based in Milton Keynes, part of the Silverstone Technology Cluster as well. Our business is about helping SMEs to really drive and increase their profitability and growth around use of their business data. So in this little presentation today, what I'm going to talk about is an idea about what data democracy is, some thoughts on why it's really difficult for SMEs in particular to embrace that idea, and then to have a look at how we've engineered our software to help them get over those hurdles. So let's start with the definition of business intelligence. What is it? What does it mean? Lots of definitions around. I think this one's as good as any. Using the knowledge and skills to optimize all of the factors that go into creating a successful company. Together, business and intelligence are what create a powerful, profitable company. So I'm past VP of Sage. Now, in the world of BI, really, big data is the thing that's really pulling this all together. But our challenge with that is we think big data is a bit like a gorilla. It's really large and it's really powerful. But my goodness, you really need to look after it and take some control of it. So we think that can be quite difficult for the smaller ends of the businesses. But actually, what is the case that in most businesses, there are core day-to-day business data being generated that really drive the power for some big decisions if you can just get to them. So if that small data, as we call it, can be treated as a separate opportunity to invest in some computing power, you can turn that into algorithms and systems that can really drive decision making across the business. So we call that small data. We think small data is like a mouse. It's kind of small, it's agile, doesn't take a lot of looking after, and you can give it to the kids to play with too. We think that's what we're trying to get to. Now, that data can be really powerful. There's lots of stuff in there that you can do with it. And with any system of power, where you've got power, you need a system of control. As we know in engineering, must be the same with your stuff, James, as well. So there are some different control systems around. Let's have a look at some of those, see if you recognize these in the data world. So the first one, a data dictatorship. So you get the data the boss thinks you're entitled to and your place in the hierarchy. You hope you're one of the people that's going to be somewhere up the tree. The next one, the data aristocracy. So the spreadsheet king, typically in small businesses, is the gatekeeper to all that meaningful information. They're the guys with the power. If you're lucky, they might throw you a crumb of data from time to time, but you've got to be nice to them, haven't you? The system that we think is really common in lots and lots of small businesses, and indeed quite bigger businesses, the data anarchy. So this is where everybody goes and does their own thing. They get what data they can, in whatever way they can do it, with the skills they have, the opportunities they have. And you get this massive of different alternative facts abounding, what I call multiple versions of the truth in the business. So what about a data democracy? There's a great definition from Margaret Rouse that I particularly like. It's the ability for information in a digital format to be accessible to the average end user. The goal of data democratization is to allow non-specialists to be able to gather and analyze data without requiring outside help. That's our mission. That's what we're trying to get to. Now, in the SME world, there are some very clear technical barriers to that kind of situation happening. Let's take a look at the sort of top four. So the first one, there's a real lack of data expertise in these businesses to understand and manipulate the data that's stored in those business systems. There can be all kinds of different data in the back end of all kinds of ERP systems, whatever it might be. And there's nobody in the business that really understands how to go and get that data and manipulate it into stuff that we can use. There's also a lack of ability on top of that, either ability or tools, to actually automate the gathering and the manipulation of that data so that you can share it through some kind of a skill-free interface. Even if the door is open to that data, it can then be a really long and arduous process that might take days every month to go get that data and turn it into something that people can use for decision making. The next one is that there's often no ability to divide that data into logical subsets so that everyone gets what they need without compromising data integrity and security. Even in most democracies, you don't really want to give all of the population access to all of the information. There are good reasons for that integrity and security that you wouldn't want to do that. So we need to be considering that. And then finally, often the data that's there is incomplete, because without any kind of recognized and valuable end result, there's no appetite to create and maintain quality data. What we find really works is that if you can implement a kind of automated exception reporting system that will tell people when data looks like it's either maybe incorrect or there's a bit of a conflict in there so they can fix it, it can really make a difference. It's all about purpose. If you can get the end user to have a real what's in it for me in terms of getting it correct to start with, then you get a virtuous circle and you get great data and you get great information. So at Illuminis, we focus particularly, as I've said, on working on SMEs, and we're really working hard to try and make sure that we can implement these kind of things into businesses which are at the lower end of the spectrum. So we've come up with a product which we called Octelas, and I'd like to just talk briefly about how we engineered that product and the thinking behind our design to get to where we are to today, where we can implement in hours to days a system that will drive accurate information, make it available right across the business. This was our kind of core goal, if you like, a really simple idea, which is here's our application presented in a user's web browser that can take the information in their data sources back in the business and make it available quickly and easily. The problem, of course, is on the left-hand side of the diagram, those data sources are myriad. There are all sorts of different systems. And more to the point, even if you take a single system, there are all sorts of different ways in which different businesses use those systems. So it's really difficult to get something without writing a bespoke system for each and every version of that, which is really what Big BI does. That was never going to work for us. What we came up with was the idea of having a unified data set in the middle, so some kind of unified structured data from which we could build a unified structured reporting engine in the Octelas application, so that we could then deliver something which was quick and easy to use at the far end, but really powerful. But we didn't have to worry about rebuilding again and again the reporting engine. We just had to make sure we could get our data into these unified structures that would make it happen. So to that end, we need another bit in the puzzle, the data extraction utility that goes to those source data, feeds it in, and builds it into our unified data that we can then feed through and give to the users. It's not bad, we're nearly getting there. There's one more vital part that we need to meet the needs of what we were looking for. So we're building a security layer at this point, which enables our users and the clients that we work with to define for each individual user what data they get, what subset of the data they get, what functionality in the product is available to them, so we can really get this democracy working right to the heart of the business. This is pretty good. This looks like a perfect, reporting system, but how do you build that so that to really add its value in any business is really specific to that business? Having a generic thing that everybody can kind of tweak isn't good enough. And historically, typically that's meant this is a really bespoke piece of work to really engineer a new version of this software for each and individual client. That means expensive people, lots of development time. That would give us as a business a resourcing issue, which would upset our business model. That would really increase our pricing and take us out of the marketplace with the SME. So that couldn't work for us. What we came up with was the idea of enabling every single part of this system to be driven by some configuration data in the background. So underneath the system, located alongside our reporting data, is actually a very straightforward, simple set of tables that look after the entire configuration of everything that happens in this system. So we've got the stuff in there that says, for the data extraction utility, that's where you'll find the data. That's the kind of format it's in. These are the stuff we want to put in. That's where you need to put it. The transformation stuff that says, now you've got it, this is how you can turn it into our unified structures that make it work. At the other end, it's got all the data that says, these are the menus and the reports available to each user. These are the filters they can use to drill down into that data. These are the groupings they can use to have a look and get insights. And equally importantly, and this is the security layer stuff that says what you're allowed to see in the first place. That's what we've built. Where we've got to is that we can now join that system. If we go to a client who have got a new data system on the far left that we've not seen before, in about a day or two, right across the business, we've got a reporting system that's delivering insightful information to pretty much skillless people straight away. If that data source is stuff we've worked with before, so we know how that works and we've got some of the transformations built already. That can be hours. We can literally, by just after lunchtime of arriving 9 o'clock on the site, we're showing the data locked up in their business systems to the MD right there and there in our product. So, it's all very well to say, does it work? I've got some metrics. Of course I would, I'm an analyst. So, today we're providing reports from 25 different data systems. So that's from things as trivial as Excel spreadsheets through the popular ERP systems, Sage, MS Nav, so on, right up to we're working with some data in IBM AS400 warehouses. And in quite a few of those places, we're taking data from really quite disparate, different systems that are in that business, maybe in different parts of the world, joining them together and giving the staff access to a unified reporting set of data that joins those all together. We've got some metrics actually built, and some analytics rather, built into the product, which means we can find out how many reports our users are generating. We're really close now to 3 million reports in our client base. And looking at the reports this week, we'll get there by Christmas. We'll meet that milestone. Training was really important to us. That ease of use was, really important within our business. And our typical training time is about 30 minutes, and it's nearly always with the chief exec or the managing director. Once the product's in and we've got the first sort of set of all the data going, we'll sit down with the chief exec, show him or her how to use it. They then roll it out. We don't do any more training. And very quickly we see the access logs showing lots and lots of use of the system. The particular one I like is if you look at the moving annual total analysis of the reports per user per month, this typically shows that even 2 or 3 years after we put the product in, their use of it on a per month basis is growing. So even after 2 years or so, this month they used it a bit more than they used it last month. So what we've demonstrated is that given the opportunity, staff with little or no IT skill will embrace data analytics and gain insights that inform decisions that drive profitability and growth and productivity on a daily basis. And of course, the more they use it, the more confident they get, and then they use it even more. Thank you very much.